sir. Good afternoon. And from Olongapo City pala. Okay. Thank you very much. And once again, I am Ao Vilbar and I'll be your host for today. I am from UP Cebu College of Social Sciences. And we would like to acknowledge the following people. From La Union, we have Daniel Cinco. Ay, sir, may hapon. Okay, from Southern Rizal Province. And we have Daryl Alenton from Dasmariñas, Cavite. And from Marikina, Bernardo Abraham. Magandang hapon po. And Miss Shirley Abong from, may hapon, gikan sa Surigao del Norte. Antipolo, and we have Bacoor. Yes, thank you very much, Cavite. And we're hoping everybody's staying at home and safe because we know this pandemic has really made us more creative, but perhaps extra challenge. Nick Tolentino from Bay Laguna. Magandang hapon po. Okay, and we have Michael Andrew is from our TLRC and Professor Jera. Hi, Miss Jera. So Miss Jera, Professor Jera is the
Hi.
yeah, sometimes we call her as the superwoman of technology. She does everything with this. And yeah, from Bohol, student from K. Beverly Santander. Good afternoon, Paul. So now this topic is very relevant to all of us because in this pandemic, whether you're a teacher or not, sometimes people can call you and be needing your help. Siguro nga dahil ang daming, some could have some depression. So this is the right time to listen how to do psychological first aid. And very good, no? Kasi our resource speaker for today is a psychologist. At the same time, she's the guidance counselor of UP Cebu. So she's so used to this kind of helping people online, cell phone, or other means. Okay. Magandang hapon po. And we have some special shout out to Romel Bautista from Dasmariñas, Cavite. Maayong hapon o gikan sa Cecilia Santander from Tagum City, Davao del Norte. Okay. So friends, once again, welcome to the UP Cebu TLRC webinar series on psychological first aid. We are starting our program at exactly 1:30. Grace Ann, si Grace Ann. Wow, from IIT na siya. Okay, hi Grace. I know IIT is a place for you. You are in IIT, MSU IIT, place of beautiful people, very hospitable. Emily Cañada from UC Cebu. Ay sir, may hapon. Okay. So, and we have from, Julie Ann from Nueva Ecija. Naimbag na, I forgot, but I know I atin ka. Okay, so, okay, hi Miss Jera. So once again, it's 1:30 p.m. and it's our best time to start our psychological first aid. So Miss Jera, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Okay, so
This morning was so rainy, you know.
yeah, it's a beautiful rainy Saturday here, but it will not stop us to know more about psychological first aid. Now, before we start our webinar, meron po tayo mga counting reminders from Ms. Jera and how to do the recording, how to get your certificate instantly. So Ms. Jera, please tell them some protocol or some rules in our webinar.
Okay, sir. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here with us with TLRC here at UP Cebu. This is presented to you by the TTBDO with the cooperation of the Office of Student Affairs. This this webinar is also presented to you through the funding of the University of the Philippines, Cebu. And I know that some of us here are coming from Manila, coming from Visayas, and of
May
course,
PUP.
oh yeah, and also we know that some of our participants here coming from Mindanao. Mayong hapon po din ha. Nalipay mi nga ani amo karon din. So, before anything else, I would like to share with you some webinar reminders. I know for those who really followed our webinar series from the very beginning, you already know this, but a little bit of reminder is still good enough. Okay, so the webinar will be recorded. So if you have seen those little pop-up that will ask you to continue or not when the webinar is recorded, if you feel that you are uncomfortable that this session will be recorded, you may leave. But if you feel that it's okay, so kindly stay with us. So we'll be keeping tab of these, not because we wanted to show you to everyone, but because we wanted to document. Okay, and then kindly make sure that your microphone is on mute during the talk, because we want to make sure that our speaker's voice is clear to everyone, and we may opt to remove you if you don't follow these requests. And kindly refrain from taking pictures or videos. This is due to data privacy laws. Some data, if some of the pictures or videos will leak to the internet and may cause data privacy violation, it is upon you. Okay, so we wish to keep the identity of our participants private, and of course, in you upload or yours as well. Okay, so kindly make sure that when you take pictures or videos for your documentation, don't share it to the internet. Okay. If you have questions while the talk is ongoing, you may put them in the chat box, and after the talk, you will have a chance to ask your question. We wish for you to only use the chat box rather than voice because of our time constraint. Okay, and don't forget to evaluate. Your inputs on the webinar will help us improve our next webinars. After you have evaluated, you will be given a proof of participation. If you wish to review whatever was said or was discussed during our talk today, you may head over to UP Cebu TLRC YouTube channel, UP Cebu TLRC, to check the webinar's stream. So we have a stream at UP Cebu TLRC YouTube channel. Okay, so if you wanted to review or you wanted to see what's going on, or if you have missed some points, then you can review through that particular YouTube channel. Okay, so di na nato ni padugayon,
Yes,
Sir Al.
that's
I'll
true.
give
So once
back.
again, don't forget to evaluate. And we have the UP Cebu TLRC YouTube channel. And now, who is our speaker? I'd like to call on Mr. Michael Andrew to introduce our speaker. Go, Michael.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Sir Au, Miss Jera, Miss Noel.
Good
Okay, yes.
afternoon.
Yes, so it's my honor to introduce our resource speaker this afternoon. She is fondly known as Miss Jazz. She is an experienced guidance counselor with a demonstrated working history in the education sector. She is a graduate of the Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from the University of the Philippines, Cebu in 2013. She finished her Master of Arts in Guidance and Counseling from the Cebu Normal University in 2017, while working as a counselor at Sacred Heart School Ateneo de Cebu from 2014 to 2019. In 2017, she ranked third place in the Guidance Counselor Licensure Examination and has been awarded with a Certificate of Distinction by the Professional Regulation Commission and an Award of Distinction from Cebu Normal University. During the height of the pandemic in April 2020, she, along with her counselor friends and colleagues, founded Cebu Counselor Online Psychological and Emotional Support, or the Cebu COPS, which offered free online and mobile counseling services. As a group, their efforts were recognized by several media outlets such as the ABS-CBN, Cebu Daily News, UNTV, and more. They were able to cater to more than 300 clients all over the country and even abroad. Currently, she is a guidance services specialist for the College of Communication, Art and Design at the University of the Philippines, Cebu. Everyone, let us give a virtual applause to Ms. Jacilu Saturinas. Good afternoon, Ms. Jazz.
Good afternoon, Ms.
Good
Jazz.
Jazz.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Sir Michael, Ms. Jara, and Sir Au. And good afternoon to all of our participants. And thank you for taking the time to learn about psychological first aid. So I hope the weather is good. We're at your location right now. Here in Cebu, it's a bit rainy with some thunderstorms, but hopefully the weather will improve in the next days. So let me just share my screen. Okay, so hi once again, I'm Miss Jazz from UP Cebu, OSA. And before we start this afternoon's talk or webinar, I just want to get a feel of how everyone is doing this Saturday afternoon. So as you can see on the screen right now, all right. So there is a different zones, no zones of emotions, and all you have to do is just simply choose which zone are you in right now. So if you're feeling a bit sick, sad, tired, then click on the blue zone. But if you're feeling happy, excited to learn, then click on the green zone. So just check which emotion you're feeling and what zone that belongs to. So go ahead and vote, and we'll see how everyone is doing this Saturday afternoon. So I think you can see the poll right now being shown. So again, just click on that. And once we get to around 75%, or yeah, maybe we can share the answers of everyone. Okay. So go ahead and vote. Click on the poll. So far, we're already at 73. All right. Okay. I guess we can, are there still answers coming in, Sir Michael? Or we can show it now, probably. Okay. All right. So we will share the results. So as you can see, for those who are in the blue zone, because I guess there are people in the blue zone as well, no, it's characterized by sadness or feeling tired. So for those in the blue zone, just take the time to get a rest or take it easy. For those in the yellow zone, maybe it's maybe slow down a bit. And for those in the red zone, but I think no one's in the red zone, but if for those who are not able to vote, but they're feeling to be in the red zone, then just like the traffic lights, take a pause or take a moment to stop for a while. And for those of us who clicked on the green zone, just like the traffic lights, it signals for us to go and start on certain activities. So regardless of what we are feeling right now, acknowledge whatever you're feeling. And hopefully this afternoon's webinar may be helpful not only for you, but especially for the people around you as well. So let me just reshare my screen because I think there are many, do you see the markings on the screen? So let me just stop share for a while and reshare my screen. All right. So I guess the markings are gone. So for our participants, we just request that you be careful, please, in clicking on the screen because sometimes it leaves marks. All right. So now, considering the present environment that we are in right now, because of COVID-19 and the changes that it brought about, we are currently living now in a VUCA world. And when we talk about VUCA world, we are living in a world that's volatile. So in a world that's changing rapidly and unpredictably. We're living in an uncertain world wherein the future is unknown. And this inability to know what will happen for sure will require patience and a contingency plan. We live in a world as well that's complex, wherein there's many distinct but interconnected variables. And we live in a world as well that's ambiguous. And because of this, because it's a world that's ambiguous, there are circumstances with multiple meanings. And because of this, it requires objectivity without projecting biases. Now, the question now here is, how do we respond to a VUCA world? Okay, so there's marks again. So again, please be careful in clicking the screen so that we won't have many markings. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you for the reminder, Ms. Jera. Okay, so again, how do we respond to a VUCA world? So in a world that's volatile, we have to respond with speed. So because sudden changes in the environment would require a rapid response, and because well-honed skills are easier to deploy, it's important that we update our skills to respond to the 21st century. In a world that's uncertain, we have to respond with flexibility because we do not know what will happen for sure. Thus, it will require patience and a contingency plan. And in a world that's complex, since there are many distinct but interconnected variables, it will require a broad range of response, thus breadth. And in a world that's ambiguous, we have to respond with self-awareness so that we do not get confused about our values, and also for us to be aware of our internal biases. Thus, it is important that we are aware of what skills we need to have in this VUCA world. And psychological first aid, especially now with the effects of the pandemic, it becomes very handy or helpful as we try to respond to or be aware of our emotional responses, and as well how we could also give assistance to our significant others. Now, you might ask yourself, now, why learn psychological first aid? Shouldn't we leave this to mental health professionals? Now, if you're a friend, a teacher, classmate, workmate, or a family member of someone experiencing mental distress real time, you're often the first to notice or be approached by someone who is experiencing mental distress. So you will be the first to notice if someone close to you has been acting unusual. You may also find yourself in a situation wherein you will be asked to respond or to provide intervention to a crisis right away to avoid undesirable consequences to the person involved and their immediate surroundings. Now, however, since most have no training or may feel unprepared to handle these issues, it may lead to avoiding them altogether, or it might overwhelm them or get in over one's head. Thus, our objectives for this afternoon's talk is to understand the basic core action principles of psychological first aid and to learn strategies and techniques to facilitate psychological first aid. And also, in addition, how to also do remote psychological first aid. So, what is psychological first aid? Now, according to Sphere and the IASC, psychological first aid describes a humane, supportive response to a fellow human being who is suffering and who may need support. Now, according to the World Health Organization, PFA involves the following. It involves providing practical care and support, which does not intrude. It's assessing needs and concerns. It's helping people to address basic needs, for example, food, water, shelter, or information. It's also listening to people, but pressuring them not to talk, not pressuring them to talk, rather. It's comforting people and helping them to feel calm. It's helping people connect to information, services, and social supports. And finally, it's protecting people from further harm. So now how about what PFA is not? No? So PFA is not something that only professionals can do, but it is also not professional counseling. So again, PFA is similar to the physical first aid or emergency first aid, wherein you serve as a bridge for the person to get further medical help to the medical professional. So the same thing, you assist someone do psychological first aid to serve as a bridge to connect them also to the proper mental health professional. So it's not asking someone to analyze what happened to them or to put time and events in order. And although PFA involves being available to listen to people's stories, it's not about pressuring people to tell you their feelings and reactions to an event. And it's also not psychological debriefing in that PFA does not necessarily involve a detailed discussion of the event that caused distress. So PFA promotes and sustains an environment of safety, calm, connectedness, self-efficacy, help, and of hope. So these are the goals of PFA. Now, going to the meat of our talk today are the core principles of PFA. So there are three main core principles on how to do psychological first aid, and that's look, listen, and link. And I will elaborate more on these principles in the succeeding slides. So the first one is look. So when we do psychological first aid, we have to look around you before offering for help. And this would entail a quick scan of the surroundings of the person. So when you look at the surroundings and the environment of the person that you're trying to help. So in looking, you check for safety, you check for people with obvious urgent basic needs, and you check for people with serious distress reactions. So I will elaborate more on these three under look. So let's start first with check for safety. So when we check for safety, check what dangers can you see in the environment surrounding the person. Is the person safe physically and emotionally in the current location or environment? Let's say, is it a disaster risk area? Is it prone to landslides? Is there a fire in the area? Or let's say in a more, let's say, less risk or less disaster situation, no? Let's say a person is brokenhearted. You have a friend who's heartbroken and they are drinking or sitting near the roadside or by the road or on the sidewalk. So check for safety and secure that person. So before you try to talk with that person by the roadside, then ask the person, can we move to a more secure place first? Can you want a secure and a private location? So bring the person to safety first. So aside from checking for safety, check for people with obvious urgent basic needs. So is the person injured and in need of emergency medical help? Does the person have any obvious urgent basic needs such as food, water, clothing, etc.? So example, if you see someone who is already bleeding or they're injured, you have to attend to that first. Okay, so you don't go and try to talk to them while they're bleeding, no? So you have to attend to that first. You have to attend to their wounds, to their injuries before you try to talk to them about their concerns or the causes for their concerns. And at the same time, check also who else is available around me to help or around you to help. So it is important that you know your role and you try to get help for people who need special assistance or those who have obvious urgent basic needs. So again, if there's someone who is critically injured, refer them to a medical personnel or a medical professional or those trained in physical first aid or emergency first aid. Or you may try to go to a nearby clinic or hospital. So attend again to those needs first. Okay. So another way of looking is to check for people with serious distress reactions. So basically for looking, no, you check again, you scan the surroundings, scan the environment, scan the people for those who are in distress reactions. So first is to check if the person is extremely upset. Are they not able to move on their own? Are they not responding to others, or are they in shock? And there are also actually other physical symptoms that you can look into. So, for example, are they shaking? Are they crying? Are they irritable? Are they jumpy? You know, do they appear confused or disoriented? Do they appear withdrawn or they're not responding? Or are they very still? Are they not moving? And are they not responding to others? Are they not speaking at all or replying? So in the case also of parents, are they not able to take care anymore of their children? Or are they not able to take care of themselves? And these are some signs that you can look into, no? And how you can spot people who might be experiencing psychological distress. So example, for those who are not anymore eating or drinking, or probably they're not able to make simple decisions. So these are some physical or manifestations that you can check into when there is a possibility that someone is experiencing psychological distress. Okay. Now, just to recap, when we look, we check for safety. Again, secure the person and the environment that they're in. Check for people with obvious urgent basic needs. So do they need food, water, shelter? And then check for people as well for with serious distress reactions. Now, because we're also in the time of the pandemic and physical distancing, the question is, how do we do psychological first aid remotely? Now, how do we look remotely? No, so there are ways actually now, and looking remotely would entail looking into their social media posts. What are the contents of their post? What do they share? No, maybe it can be a cause for concern as well. Second is social exclusion, or they're no longer responding to correspondences. So they no longer respond to emails, calls, or messages. Or is there an unusual change in their online behavior? So like some example, their posts, let's say they're always posting, and then suddenly that has reduced significantly. So to almost no posts at all. Or they post rarely and then suddenly there's a sudden burst of posts. And the content of their posts may be a cause for concern. So these are ways that you can check into someone remotely. So let's say if you see this now and it's causing concern for your end, so you might try to check in into that person, a friend or a student. Hey, I've been seeing your posts lately. Is there something that I can help you with? Or is there something that you're going through probably that I can help you with? So just try to check in on them through messaging or through text, no, if it's really something that causes concern already. Okay, so that is how you can look remotely and how you can also do psychological first aid from a distance. Now, after looking and checking the situation, the next step would be to listen. So listening properly to people you're helping is essential to understand their situation and their needs. So by listening properly, you will be able to help them to feel calm and be able to and you will be able to offer appropriate help. Now, when we listen with our eyes, giving the person your undivided attention. We listen with our ears by truly hearing their concerns, and we listen with our heart with caring and showing respect. Now, but before we check and engage with the person, we have to establish contact and engagement first through introducing ourselves. Or why are we approaching them? Because sometimes when we approach them and we try immediately to assist them, they might be wondering, who are you? Why are you trying to help me? So before you try to engage, introduce yourself first. What's your intention? And try to establish first a relationship with that person. So how do you do that? How do you do listening? So first, approach people who may need support. Second, ask about people's needs and concerns. And then lastly, listen to people and help them to feel calm. So let's start first with approaching people who may need support. Now, in approaching people who may need support, how do we do that? How do we do that? So first, it's very important that you connect and establish a caring relationship. So it's very important that you approach people respectfully and according to their culture, because some cultures or people may not be comfortable if you stay too close to them. So maintain a comfortable distance as long as you can hear them well, but not encroaching too much on their personal space. Now, next is to, and also, by the way, it's also important to also be careful. Aside from the distance, be careful also with touch, because again, some cultures are not open to that. It might, so we have to be culturally sensitive as well. And also some victims of disaster or even abuse are also very careful or very jumpy when someone tries to touch them. So we have to be careful and consider these situation as well. So once you're done connecting, no, it's very important that you introduce yourself. So introduce yourself by your name and organization, especially if you're attending to strangers. If it's someone close to you or a friend, you may skip the introduction but continue with the rest. So example, hi, I'm Miss Jazz. I am a counselor from UP Cebu. May I know your name? Who are you with? Then ask if you can provide help. May I know what happened? I want to be of help in any way that I can. So that's when you try to offer how you can help. No? And at least when someone knows your training or your credential, then at least they will also be confident to ask help from you. So again, it's very important that you approach culturally sensitive or be sensitive not to those nuances, and then introduce yourself and then ask how you can provide for help. So if possible, find a safe and quiet place to talk and secure the person. Again, make sure that their dignity will be preserved. So bring to a safe and private location and try to keep the person safe as well. So part of this is checking if the person is not a threat to oneself or to others. So check, do they have any sharp objects with them or anything that may be used to harm themselves, or anything that may cause harm or danger. So You may try to ask, do you have, especially for those cases of self-harm, no, there are really instances. So, example, do you have a sharp object with you? Let's say if it's a blade, can I have it? So if they reply yes, or let's say yes, they have a sharp object, don't panic and just grab it, no, because either you or the or the person that you're helping might be injured or might be harmed. So again, stay calm, don't panic, and just may I have that blade, please? Can you give it to me? And hopefully, um, the person will turn it over to you. But in not in any circumstances should you grab it in any way. Okay, so again, safety and be calm. So again, aside from that, check also if the person can be provided more comfort. So let's say I see that there is some swelling in your feet. Let us find a more comfortable position for you to sit. Or would you want some water? So if you see them, they're really crying or they're really overwhelmed, then there are some of it. These are some things that you can offer. No, and try to protect the person also, especially if the situation is having or attracting media coverage. So try to protect the person from exposure to the media for their privacy and dignity. So again, we have to make sure that their dignity is intact, so we place them in a more secure location. And if the person is very distressed, try to make sure that they are not alone. Okay. Now, after establishing contact and engagement, it would now be the time to check for the person's safety, their obvious urgent basic needs. So, with this, ask about people's needs and concerns. How can we do this? We can do this by finding out what is most important to them at this moment and help them work out what their priorities are. So, again, inquire into their condition, determine what are their urgent needs. So, some questions that can facilitate this or that you can ask are the following. How are you feeling right now? Are you in pain? How have you been hurt? Have you eaten? Is there anything that you're experiencing right now that is bothering you? Or how can I be of help? So, again, attend first to their immediate concerns so that when they feel more calm and stabilized, you will be able to listen their concerns better and they will be able to share in a more calm or in more understandable manner as well. I remember I had a student who went to the office and she was really upset about many things, you know, with school and about herself. And then it turns out throughout our course, because it was already lunchtime, I asked her, are you were you able to eat already? Did you have lunch? And then she said no. And actually, when she replied, she said that she was hungry. So with that, we went to the canteen and we ate, and it actually made a very big impact in our session because she was more calm once she was already able to eat. So again, we have to respond to these immediate concerns first before we start going in through or delving into their emotional concerns. Okay, so that's again, help them feel calm through attending to their urgent concerns. So now at this point, it's now time to listen to people and help them to feel calm. So how can you do this? Find out what happened to the person. However, if the person does not want to talk about the experience, do not force him or her to do so. Okay? Determine the severity of the experiences that they have gone through, how they have been affected, and how they are coping. So, example, you can ask, what is your greatest concern right now? What do you need the most right now? So, probably they might answer, let's say in the case of students, I want to be able to graduate, or I want to be able to ask for extension in the a deadline of this activity, or I want to talk to my friend so he can help me decide what to do. So you try to respond to those, no, try to offer help in the framework of what they are asking, no. But of course, it's very important that whatever the person mentioned as well, always maintain confidentiality, unless of course if it is a case of self-harm or someone is trying to hurt them. So if that's the case, you have to tell a significant other or refer them to mental health professionals. So again, in cases of harm, that's when confidentiality is broken. So again, it's very important that you model healthy responses. So you yourself should be calm, you should be courteous, organized, and helpful. So it is important that you are calm, because if you're also in distress, and example, because if they are in distress and you are panicking or overwhelmed, it will be counterproductive. No? So be calm and soothing so they can feed off from your energy as well. No? So have you tried being with someone who's very calming, who has a calming or soothing presence? So diba, sometimes it ripples to us and we become calm as well. But if there's someone who's panicky or who's overwhelmed, sometimes that also ripples to us. You know, we become also agitated even for no reason, just because someone um, is experiencing this. Sometimes it also radiates or ripples to us. So how do you try to be calm? So keep your tone of voice calm and soft. um, how to be attentive if culturally appropriate. Try to maintain some eye contact again if this is culturally appropriate. No, so maintain some eye contact with them or as you talk, and then remind the person that you are there to help them. Remind them also that they are safe, but only assure that if it is true. Okay, so that's how you do the listening. The listening. So again, just to recap, again, approach people who may need support by introducing yourself, establish a caring relationship. Second is ask about people's needs and concerns. What are their urgent needs, and try to respond to those that you can respond. And then listen to people, what their needs are, and help them to feel calm as well. By being, by modeling a calm, healthy response as well. So with that, with listening, how do we also, if earlier we looked at remotely, how do we listen remotely? So there are certain steps that we can also follow while doing the listening or psychological first aid remotely. So number one is, again, it's very important that you introduce yourself. Again, if it's already a friend or someone that who knows you already, then again, you may skip this part. But second is you ask how you can be of help. So it's, if you're the one offering help, then let them know, I'm concerned about your post, and I just want to know, is there any way that I can help? Or let's say someone is trying to ask help from you, then you ask them how you can be of help. Third is this one. Sometimes it's overlooked, even personally, even I as a counselor, sometimes this can be overlooked, but this is very important that you agree in the duration of the call. And this is often missed out, but it's very important to establish boundaries, because you cannot be available 24/7. Okay, even as counselors, we let our clients know what time we are usually available. So I usually tell the students that I'm available Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Unless, of course, if it's an emergency situation or a life and death situation, then of course those are some exceptions. But we let them know so that they know what to expect. Because as counselors, we also need um, uh, some time to rest, to to be able to re-energize also, and to be able to help better. So it's very important that you agree on a time frame. Boundaries are important for self-care, and also for you not to get drained emotionally, no, especially when you're in the helping profession. So for this, once you have established that, all these, no, listen to the practical and emotional needs of the caller. So be attuned to what they are saying, especially if it's just through call or video call. Now be attuned of their actions still, if they're on if you're using video call. But if it's through phone, then listen attentively to the nuances and their tones of voice. And then again, try also to check, or while listening, check also what probable needs that they might have. Okay. And then also ask about coping. How are they coping? What do they do for self-care and stress management? So ask them, with all that you're experiencing right now, what are you doing to manage this? what is helping you go through it? What's helping you in terms of your coping, no? With this, you are trying to build on their strengths, no? We do not just focus solely on their weaknesses, on their struggles, but try to build up their strengths. No, what have you done before? No, what have you done before that has helped you, and do you think it will help you right now? So build on their strengths. Okay. So as counselors, we actually do not, there's a common misconception that counselors give advices, but no, we don't give advices, but we help you facilitate what are your possible courses of action, because in the end, it's your life. You make the decision. We do not make the decision for you. Okay, so we lay out your options, you choose your options. Now we work through it and see what would be doable for you given your situation. Okay, so with that, ask what the person would choose to do, considering his or her present situation, and assist the person to find out things that they can do, or probably you can suggest that they write a list for an inspiration. So again, you do not need to give advice, but instead facilitate what may work for the person. Okay. And then lastly, it's important that you summarize the conversation. So summarize by highlighting key issues not discussed. So example, so far we talked about this and that, and um, you mentioned that you will try to do this to help you with the coping. And you may, if possible, you may agree on a follow up, no? And do you want me to check on you after you've done this, or will you just call me? So agree on how you will proceed from that. Or let's say if you're going to refer to a mental health professional, let them know as well. So it should be clear to both of you. So if again, when you end the call, thank them for the conversation. So no matter what you have experienced throughout the call, just thank them for their time and for being able to talk to you about their concerns. And again, when you're listening, I just want to give a reminder that you have to remember about confidentiality and boundaries. Of course, unless for confidentiality in cases of harm, then significant others should be contacted. Okay, so that's for listening. Now let's move now to linking, or which is the last step. So we have already looked, listen, and now we will link. So when we link, there are also different ways wherein we can link. No? So first, we help people address basic needs and access services. We help people cope with problems. We give information, and we connect people with loved ones and social support. So let's start with the first one in terms of helping people address basic needs and access services. So in this part, you offer practical help. No, so example, if earlier when you did the listening and the person said, "I want to talk to my friend because I want my friend to help me make a decision on this," so you can try to respond by saying, "We can call your friend. Do you need help with that? How can we contact him? Do you have load? Or should I use my phone?" So try to offer practical help. Or let's say if the person would want to talk to a counselor or a mental health professional, you can try to offer, I can refer you to this mental health professional. Do you want me to help you connect to him or her? So this is when the referral comes in. No? So refer them to the more appropriate person or professional that who can assist them. So again, remember that in PFA, or in doing psychological first aid, it is important to do no harm. Okay? So if you feel that you lack training in the area, instead of giving wrong information, it is important that you refer them to someone who will be able to assist them better, because again, we might do more harm than good. So again, let's do no harm, no, in psychological first aid. So again, in helping people, try to offer practical help and referral to services, or connect them to services. Aside from that, in linking, try to help people also cope with problems. So ask the person what helps them to feel better. Is it talking to someone, or is it getting some food? No, so just assist them what makes them feel better, and ask the person to consider also how they coped with difficult situations in the past. So when you had problems in the past, what helped you usually? Is it facing the problem head on or talking to someone? So, and affirm their ability to cope with the current situation. Or let's say, do you want to try doing what you did before, or do you want to modify it? So encourage them as well to use positive coping strategies. So encourage them to cope and build on their strengths. So again, we focus on their strengths instead of their weaknesses. But we of course acknowledge it, but we also build on their strengths. Okay. Next is to give information. So when you link them properly, people might also need further information, especially in terms of, especially right now that there are many disasters, or there are disasters or typhoons, no, so they might also want to know how their family is doing. So it's very important that you have, especially also in the COVID situation right now, people are very anxious about contracting COVID. What are the possible symptoms, the help that they might need? So it's very important that you also have those information handy. So when we were doing the online counseling before in Cebu Copes, we also had COVID positive patients. So we make sure that we also have access to data about COVID, so that we are able to answer their concerns also. But again, if there are already areas which is or topics that are already beyond our expertise as counselors, we refer them already to professionals, especially those who can answer more about COVID and the treatment of COVID. So in giving information, it's very important that you give accurate information. If you're unsure, tell the person that you do not know instead of giving false information. So if you do not know, offer to search for the information. You may say, I do not know the answer to your question, but let me find that out for you. Or you can say, I think this person will be able to assist you better. So is it okay if I refer you to him or her, so that your questions will be answered better? So again, we do not give inaccurate information, but if we don't know the information, we try to offer to find it out for them or refer them to someone who knows it better. And then lastly, in terms of linking, connect people with loved ones and social support. So it's very important that people are connected with those that they care for, or that those they feel who cares for them. And sometimes it's not necessarily family. That's why I just place there with their loved ones, because it could be a close friend, or it could be their significant other. So ask how they can stay in touch with loved ones, and help people to contact loved ones so that they can get support. For example, provide a way for them to call the loved ones. Do you want to call? Do you want to get in touch with them? So offer those lang. So that's for linking. So again, when we link, we help people address basic needs and access services. We help people cope with problems. We give information, and we connect people with loved ones and social support. So earlier, again, we look and listen remotely. How do we also link remotely? So right now, because we are again socially, or let's say physically distancing, how do we refer them or get in touch with other professionals remotely? So right now, the good thing about now is that because there's technology, and people are really maximizing the technology out there. So for those who might be experiencing psychological concerns, then they may connect with online communities. So right now, I know we're from different parts of the country, and I even saw someone from abroad, who's here also in our Zoom meeting. So please be mindful, or please be aware also of the online communities in your area or in your locality, for those who might offer psychological and emotional support. So there are many organizations running right now online. So all we have to do is just research and try to connect with these communities. There are also online and telemedicine services, especially for those who would need medical help. No, so again, this is very helpful for us when we were doing the Cebu Popes, when we were doing the online counseling, because there were some who would go to us and ask for medical help, no, or even a prescription. So the good thing at that time was that we had the Subu Doctor volunteer group. So we usually refer them to that group. So it was very helpful because they are also given attention to, in terms of medical help. So we have to be aware of the services in our locality. Okay. And also online or telecounseling services or mobile psychological services. There are still groups that offer. I think we have the Philippine Mental Health Association. It has different chapters in the country. So there's even a Cebu chapter, and I'm sure there are also different chapters in your locality. As to free counseling sessions, I do not know if there are still those who offer. I guess there are, but I think right now there are some who offer, but who offers, but for a minimal fee. So just get in touch with your communities in your locality, especially in terms of telecounseling or psychological services. Okay, so that's for linking remotely. So now just a few reminders, no, in when you're ending your assistance. So it's very important that you use your best judgment of the person's needs. Again, it's very important that you remember your limits. Okay? If it's beyond your training or your expertise, always refer to professionals, and let's remember to do no harm. And if you link them with professionals and or services, be sure that they have the contact details and they know what to expect. And for you as well, be sure that you have a means of checking that they actually follow your advice, especially if the case is about self-harm or violence cases. And no matter what your experience was, if it was um, overwhelming or you had a different experience than the others, say goodbye in a good way and still wish them well. Okay. Now, in delivering PFA as well, so that's for your ending assistance. No? And now in delivering PFA, there is certain professional behavior that's expected of you as well if you try to do psychological first aid. So, but before we do that, let's just recap on the core principles of psychological first aid, which is look, listen, and link. So number one, when we look, we check for safety. So again, scanning the environment. Then check for people with obvious urgent basic needs, those who might need food, water, say information, shelter, and then check for people with serious distress reactions. Again, those physical manifestations that you can look into when someone might be in psychological distress. Second is to listen. So how do we do listening? We approach people who may need support. Again, culturally appropriate approaching, introduce yourself, and then ask about what are their needs and concerns, and try to also give that if possible. And then listen to people about their concerns. But again, if they don't feel like sharing, then you don't have to force them. Again, being there is even enough. No? Knowing that someone is there, that's already a very big impact to them. And again, help them to feel calm. And lastly, you link. So help people address basic needs and access services, help people cope with problems, give information, and connect people with loved ones and social support. So again, there's professional behavior in delivering psychological first aid. So number one is to model healthy responses. Again, be calm, be courteous, be organized, and helpful. So before you help, please also already know what are your plans of action. Don't go in there and you don't know what to do. Okay, because the person that you're trying to help is already at a loss of what to do. So if you're trying to help, but you at the same time you also don't know what to do, then it's counterproductive. So make sure that you're already organized, you know what to do already, you know the next steps, then approach them calmly and courteously. And at the same time, be visible and available, maintain confidentiality, And again, remain within the scope of your expertise and designated role. And then make appropriate referrals, be knowledgeable and sensitive, so in terms of culture and diversity. And as the helper, pay attention to your own emotional and physical reactions. So when you're trying to help someone who's in distress, how are you in terms of your emotional and physical reactions? Are you okay? Are you still okay to continue helping that person? So check into that. And most importantly, practice self-care. You cannot help someone if you yourself needs to check on your self-care as well. So just like in the airplane, no, you have to put on your own oxygen mask first before you try to put on the oxygen mask of others. So again, practice self-care. Now, just some don'ts in PFA. No, number one is do not make assumptions about what the person is experiencing or what they have gone through. Do not pathologize, so do not label reactions as symptoms. Again, those who can diagnose are our psychiatrists. Do not talk down to or patronize the person or focus on the person's helplessness or weaknesses, mistakes, or disability. Again, instead, focus on what he or she has done effectively to help oneself and even others. And then do not speculate or offer possibly inaccurate information. So again, know the facts before answering the questions. And do not assume that all individuals would want to talk or need to talk to you. Again, being physically or remotely present in a supportive or calm way already helps the person feel safer and more able to cope. So with that, if you'd like to read more about psychological first aid, these are my references. So you can read more about this in detail. And with that, I hope that this talk helped you somehow to be more confident as you do psychological first aid. So with that, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Miss Jazz.
Yes, thank you very much. Very interesting discussion about what to do and what not to do about psychological first aid. And I like the fact na we can do it because bisag hindi tayo professional. Okay, so we have questions now. Miss Jera, so many interesting questions. So, okay, first is, okay, here, I like to have one. Okay, let me read some questions. Okay, one question I had was, how do we normally end counseling like this? Like, some people love to talk more and you don't know how to end. How do you end? How do you cut them politely? Okay, yes.
Okay, I think that's very, I don't know, they're very practical because there are really people who love to talk. So that's why it's very important that at the start, you are able to establish really your time frame. This is what I mentioned even in counseling. Sometimes we fail, or not really fail, but sometimes you forget because we go directly to their concern. But it's very important that you set the time frame first. That's why it's really, you put it there at the start. Okay, so this session would usually be up to 1 hour. So for us in counseling, it's really more of an hour. So that we go, it's more compact, and we will be doing more sessions siguro probably after they have done what we have agreed to do. So that I think that's one. First really is to place that at the start. And if in case it becomes, they might go longer, then just try. So let me just go back to your concern. No? So these are your concerns. So just try to somehow summarize the person's concern. So if it really goes beyond that, then try to summarize. So, okay, just going back to your main concern, your main concerns was this and that, no? So, and okay, so what can we do for this? So what do you plan to do? So try to ask them what are their actions so that they don't stay or they don't remain in their concerns lang no for long. So ask them what they can do for coping. But sometimes if they just want to share, then we allow them. But again, if it's really beyond, then try to summarize lang. And then we can move forward from there.
Okay, so try to summarize what you listen. So a lot of skills. And we have a question from Bernardo Abraham. What if the person is really hard to calm down? Is there any easy way to stop them? Oh, ano, is there a technique to calm people down?
Okay. So example, if the person is sometimes because before I was a grade school counselor before, and sometimes children might be difficult to calm down as well, no? Because sometimes they're still trying to get in touch with their emotions. So sometimes there's still emotional regulation needed. So what we do is that we ask them to be in the example for my case, I bring them to my counseling room and just make sure that they are safe there. So if they decide to just scream or shout, then I just let them be, but I make sure that they're not harmed. So I just let them stay in the room, and then I just tell them, okay, if you're ready to talk to Miss Jazz, then let me know. And I am just there, just checking on them, looking at how they're doing, just to make sure that they're not harmed. So sometimes it
Okay.
may take a while, but just be there, just be calm. So if you're ready to talk to me, then let me know, okay? So that's
Okay.
it.
So, wow, it sounds so easy. No, let me talk to you. So, what if? I mean, yeah. Hopefully, we'll do that. So, here's another question. How about dual relationship? Is it a big issue and a no in offering psychological or mental health services? How about in offering PFA? First is let's define what is dual relationship.
Okay. I think I don't know if my understanding of dual relationship is the same from the one asking, but usually when I talk about dual relationship is that example, the counselor is also your
Your
cousin
friend.
or your
Okay.
aunt or your friend. No, so usually we do not it's in the ethics of counselors that we do not cater to someone who's a close friend or a
Ah,
relative to us, because it already hampers our objectivity. So what we do
ah,
is we refer them to another counselor. So yeah,
mm,
unfortunately for me, I can't do counseling on my own family members. I tell my family members, no, I will not do counseling on you. If you want, I can just we can just talk about things, no, but if it's really professional counseling, I refer them to another if that's possible for them. But
okay,
it's a no in terms of the ethics of
okay.
counseling. Yeah.
For me, from an outsider point of view, I thought I can rely on you because we're friends, pero hindi pala pwede. Okay, thank you. Here's
Yeah.
another question.
Rao,
Yes, Miss
that's
Jer.
that's where empathetic listening would come in,
Ah,
and
so
Yeah.
that's the
I
reason
okay.
why this is a series for everyone.
yeah, I
So
think I'll
there's
just like to add Sir Auno, because
mhm.
sometimes there are really friends who come and ask. So I usually ask them, um what you're asking me, do you want me to respond as a counselor or as a friend? Because it's a really different response, because if it's a friend, I can just be brutally honest, but if it's a counseling perspective or view, it's a different way also to look into it. So sometimes there's that also.
I see. Now I understand. Okay, here's another question. Is there any difference in giving PFA to students versus adults in the workplace?
In terms of I the same skills, no, still needed: look, listen, and link. For students, it may need more. You have to be mindful also, no, because they have their parents. You have to ask for consent as well. These are um, um, areas to look into as well, no, the consent, and that because they're minors. If you're dealing with younger children, their parents should know that they are going through that. Or let's say if you want to but because PFA is not also professional counseling, so it's different, no.
Mhm.
But um, in terms of the difference, probably I think for adults, um, they might not. I would say it's not. It's difficult, but it's really a case to case basis, because there are
Uh-huh.
really adults who are very welcoming to receive that, but there are also those who are resistant. The same with students
Mm.
as well. So it's really a case to case basis.
So parang not one size fits all the time.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, exactly.
Thank you. There's another question from Nisitas Pabico. What to say if the person is not verbal to share on what or she is feeling, or what to say if the person is not yet comfortable with you?
Okay. So, as mentioned during the presentation earlier, when we're doing PFA, we do not necessarily force them to talk. If they're not yet comfortable and if the only thing that you can do as of the moment is just be there to make sure that they are safe, then that's a very big impact already to them. It's already a very big help to them. So again, we don't force. But if, let's say, if in cases of children, sometimes when we try, children are not very verbal pa. What I do is I actually just let them draw. Maybe just get a pen or paper, just let them draw, or maybe play with toys. And then while they're playing, I ask them, oh, okay, so who is this? Who is this? And oh, okay, so where are you from this toy? So something we just incorporate play or art in terms of delivering PFA. So that's in the cases of children. But again, if there are examples for adults who prefer not to talk, then again, we do not force them.
Okay, thank you. Miss Jess, we have so many questions, huh? Another question from Ian Magallanes. How do you calm down a suicidal person? Well, this is a worst case situation. How do you handle that? Or can PFA do that? Okay, first. Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, PFA can do that. In terms, because when we do PFA, we try to the person not to be involved in further harm, no, and then from them refer to a mental health professional who can do the further treatment in terms of self harm. So I actually had a case of self harm, a student who engaged in self harming, in self harm, no, and the good thing lang about that was that we are in constant communication with that student, and I was checking in on her, and then she chatted, Yes, I'm so upset right now. I actually have blade in my hand because I want to harm myself. She was on the act of trying to harm herself. So for me, I was like, okay, dear, is it okay? Can you come to the guidance office? Can let's talk about it? And then, no, miss, I cannot. And then I asked her, where are you right now? I have to know where you are. So she said, Miss, I'm in the CR. I'm actually in a cubicle because I'm about to harm myself. So, okay, I'll be down there. Please just wait for me. So the good thing was that we were really in constant communication. No? So when I went to the CR, I had to knock no in one of the cubicles, and then I had to introduce myself because it's closed. So the good thing was that the CR was, there was only one occupied cubicle. So, hi, dear, this is Miss Jazz from the guidance. Is it okay if I can come in, please? So the good thing was that she was responsive. She opened the door and she was there. No, she was holding the blade and she was crying, very upset. And then because so diba that we have to look, we have to listen, and then so since she was upset and she said she was trying to harm herself, I had to make sure she was safe. So, dear, you mentioned that you were trying to harm yourself. You have a blade. Can I have that blade? And she gave it to me. So she gave it in her own free will. So I had to check more. Do you have another blade, or do you have another sharp object with you there in your bag or with you? And the good thing was that she was honest enough, and she said, yes, miss, may I have it? So she got it from her bag and she gave it to me. So since we were in the CR, it was really not a conducive place to talk. So I asked her, dear, can we go to the guidance office? I'll go with you. I can bring your bag. And then because she was already calm enough as well, then we went out. And then we proceeded and talked in the guidance office. So that can also be done also. That's actually PFA in action. So you look, you check for the surroundings, and then again, model healthy responses. Try to talk to the person. Is there any help that you need right now? So yes, you can do that for cases of self-harm. PFA, you can do that. But again, if you feel like you're still very overwhelmed or it's overwhelming, you try to call in someone. No, especially for those who are in schools, try to call in your counselors, try to call someone who might have more training in it. So, but again, it's very important that you know the basic, no? So look,
Okay.
check for surroundings, and then offer basic needs. Again, be calm lang yapon.
Okay. Wow. Thank you very much, Jess. So, and Jess, there's a question uh from I think for ethics journal. I will not mention the name na lang, no, because sometimes. Okay, so we have uh, well, some people I ask PM me directly na those are anonymous. So I'm learning a lot today. Okay, so as part of the emergency response volunteer group here in Cebu, we have ambulance free services. They wanted to know what are specific activities that volunteers like me can administer, or intervention you can suggest in line with PFA?
In terms of responding no, to those cases, I think yeah, PFA is something that you can already do, no, especially for those who are you feel are those who are very again, when you look at them and they feel in distress, no, either they are spacing out, they're withdrawn, or maybe they're so jumpy. So you can do PFA for that. So again, introduce yourself, secure them, ask them what help that they need, and then offer practical help. That's
Okay.
PFA is something that you can do already.
Mm-mm. Okay, here's another question. Kailan po dapat ini-escalate ang situation ng isang bata? Paano po kapag sa teacher lang gustong mag-open or mag-share ng bata, pero yung teacher ay nahihirapan na kung paano gagawin ni teacher? So, that's really true. Like, as teachers, so many students would like, pero how and when can we escalate it to where and to whom?
Okay. So, hearing upon the situation na parang the teacher mentioned na hindi na niya kaya na. So, we try to hopefully the student will be more open, but we try to help them understand. Okay, I think at this point I cannot, as much as I try to help you, there's only so much that I can do. We have our counselor, or we have this person in our school or in our workplace who can help you better. Now, when you go through, let them know also what happened. So when you're going to counseling, it's just similar to us, no? We're like talking, but they can help you figure it out better. No, it's confidential. They will not share it to anyone. It's a professional service because only those who are licensed can do that. So let them understand about it, because sometimes when they do not know what they're getting into, that's when they're scared also. And yeah, so it's also important that as counselors or those in the mental health know that they're also putting themselves out there. So they make sure that they are known and they establish good rapport with the students also, so that students will also be more engaged or interested, or more they're not apprehensive to approach the respective counselors.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Jess. Ms. Jess, we still have some questions. Now,
Yes.
in the context of pandemic now, how can PFA providers conduct PFA tests to students who don't have any online devices? Can we also assess the students using worksheets?
When you say PFA, it's not really actually a test or a way to diagnose. PFA is a way that you can support when someone is experiencing distress or psychological distress. No, so it's not a tool to diagnose. It's a way to help someone. So again, similar to physical first aid, this is what you do. So that, let's say when you do physical first aid, I think Sir Al, Miss Jara have been into kani mga trainings, no? You do your scarves or you do mga bandaging stuff. So that's the first aid. And then after that, you do not do the treatment anymore. You refer it to the doctors already who can give further treatment. So the same with psychological first aid, the look, listen, and link is something that you can do to help or to bridge again to a mental health professional eventually. So before it escalates to mo grabe, no, it becomes more intense, their emotional reactions. So these are some of the ways that you can do. So this is similar to bandaging or your scarfing there, no, during first aid, before you refer them to a mental health professional who can give the treatment. So again, it's not a way to diagnose, it's a way to support, support an individual.
So first aid lang. So
yes,
help for
aid.
now. Di na
Yes.
kaya, psychologist will come in. Here's a question from Sir Victorio. What do you think is the role of spirituality in PFA?
Okay, so I think similar in counseling, no, we're also careful about the use of spirituality, because number one, we might not have the same religion as someone who we are helping. So let's say for my case, I may be Catholic, but the one I'm helping might be Muslim or maybe a Protestant. So I'm very careful of using spirituality because we might not have the same beliefs. So that's number one. But let's say for them, spirituality is something that helps them, because there are we have to also acknowledge that there are more spiritual or more religious individuals. So for them, if it helps them na, okay, so when you say, example, you might ask them, what can help you? What can help me is to pray the rosary. So if that helps them to pray the rosary, then we encourage that. We do not discourage them, oh, do not pray the rosary, that cannot help you or anything. No. So if for them, if it helps them to pray the rosary to help them get through it, then we encourage them. But of
Mm.
course, that's when that comes out from them na. But we do not force our own beliefs to them. So it should be coming from them.
Wow, thank you. So we have respect religion, respect
Yeah.
spirituality. Okay, here's a follow-up question. Doing online PFA, how about if it's online or virtually done? How can I show to the person that I'm beside that person? Like,
Okay.
does it matter ba? Does it matter nga it's online? Okay, please.
Okay. So I think this is more probably on how you can show that you're attending or you're being attentive to the person. So example, right now, yes, it becomes more difficult, no, because we are away. So let's say if you're online, it's important that right now there are many things that we consider. Also, example, when you're online, make sure that your screen is properly, I don't know, and then you give your nodding and all that. But how do you do it when it's through the phone? So you can keep track na. Okay, so just parang pick up on the make like an acknowledgement somehow to know that you are there, to know that you are listening. So like
Okay.
verbal tracking, or if it's online, you can do your nodding and then make sure that you're facing properly, because sometimes it's still obvious when you're trying to check your phone, no, because you're looking at it in the sideways. So it's obvious when you are not listening. So make sure that you're attentive, and then when you're on your phone, then have the verbal tracking. So okay, so you mentioned this and that. Okay, so please proceed. Yeah, go on. So yeah, so you have all those um uh, words that tracking to also encourage them to share. So I think
Okay, thank
that's
you.
one way.
So the nodding, pero if it's on call, it is another question. How do we know that we need professional help na?
Okay,
How do you know?
so
Oh no.
so it's
Daming
really
tanong, no? Very interesting. These are very interesting questions. I mean, I like the questions, very practical na we don't know
yeah.
when to ask. So now we're asking you, Jazz. So how do we know if I need professional help now?
Well, it's really up to the person, Sir Ao, because we really bank on consent and voluntary. Let's say counseling should be voluntary. It's not because someone forced you to be there. So let's say even if you feel like this is, because sometimes there are people who gets discouraged now, my problems are so light and all, but it's okay, we're there to help you. Whether your problems are light or you feel that it's too heavy, we'll be there, we'll be there to help you, and we're ready to assist you with that. So if your problem is, because some people would just say, my problem is love life, maybe it's just too petty or no, but no, because it really affects, no? And we've seen the rise also, no, for the past year. There are
Mhm.
mga broken relationships amid the pandemic, and it's really bothering them. So yeah, we will assist you through that, even if it's just someone to talk to.
Thank you. Jazz, here's a very interesting question. Example, you're chatting with a friend and that friend told you that they will commit suicide.
Mm-mm.
Is this a time to call a professional help without their consent? Can you can a friend do that without the consent of the person?
Yes, because when it's already harm, if you hear already of concerns of harm to self and to others, then that's when confidentiality can be broken.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yes, yeah, in cases of harm, because it's our responsibility as well. So whether if it's true or not, it's better that we call on someone who can help than doubting it. When we doubt it, then na tinuod di ay simba ko lang, no. So we take all those calls for help seriously. No matter
Mhm.
if it's true or not, we really take it seriously.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Jazz, here's a question. Well, thank you very much to LRC for this opportunity. As we all know that linking or linkages is a big help in our profession. May I ask if we have a summarized referral list, and if given a chance, can we use it as one of our referral links? First is, what's referral link? And what
Um,
can you share? Oh,
Okay. So I guess you're asking probably, if I understand it correctly, if there list of organizations that they
Okay.
can link to. And as mentioned, no, I think there are already efforts to do that, especially from I think that was the UP. I think UP Diliman initiated it. I will try to check if, because they had a link, and then they were collating data from Luzon to Mindanao. So, and then I think UP Cebu was also part of that referral link. No? So I will check, but I think there was already an effort done for that, and hopefully we can just share it to you. But of course, if there is an organization in your locality, then we encourage you to get in touch with them. But of course, we will try, Miss Jara, I will try to share that
Mm-hmm.
study or that link to you.
Thank you
And
so
Mm.
much, Miss
And
Jazz.
then Miss Jera, okay, so to those who asked the question, Miss Jazz would send it to Professor Jera, and then she will email TLRC. Tama, Jer, no? Tama. Okay.
We can try to collate all of the links, especially there are actually some guidance counselor groups that are available on Facebook or through their websites. So we
Mm-hmm.
can try to look for these links and also try to refer to Miss Jazz if she has already some data on it.
Okay, thank you. Miss Jazz, another question. You
yes.
mentioned that we are dealing with minors and we need to tell the parents. But what if the parents are the cause of their suicidal acts? Grabe tong
Oh,
tanong na to. Parang, answer me now. Okay, yes, Jazz.
yes. Yeah, that's true. No, that's also one thing to be worried about. If it's not the parent, maybe another adult in the family. So we can try to ask them, who else can you trust in your family? Maybe it could be an aunt, an adult cousin, probably. Then we can ask for their help, and we can try to ask the student, aside from your parents, is there someone in your family who you can ask help from? But make sure it's an adult family member, and we have to tell them. No, we have to tell them, because it's a harm. It's a case of self harm, so we
Mhm.
need to tell someone. It's our responsibility to tell someone else.
Okay, thank you. And we still have two more questions. What is the best thing to do if you encountered a case in PFA where legality is concerned, such as rape, victims of domestic violence?
Okay. So with these cases, no, this is more specialized. So we can, if this is already beyond you, especially in cases of rape or domestic abuse, this is already, yes, you can still do PFA, and then you do the linking. So you might link them to the VAUSI or in their barangays. No, we have the VAUSI, that's no anti-violence against women and children. So you may ask help from the barangays, or you can ask help from DSWD. So yes, you can still do PFA, but link them already to these institutions or organizations.
Thank you. And speaking of organization, we have a message from Genesis Kelly Lontok for UP Diliman Psychological Pahinungod, UP Diliman Pahinungod Psychological First Aid. You can email, it's in the chat box, pspp psp.pahinungod.up.edu.ph. Salamat, go Pahinungod. And there's another question. Um, mukhang pagod na si Miss Jazz. True or false? Okay. I don't, yeah,
we
all the energy, right? So go girl. Ito yung question. If the student told you about what they're doing, like smoking and not attending class, can we inform someone who can help them, or can we address it to the parents? But this will compromise the trust of the student to you. What can we do about it? Common classic teacher problem. Paano
Yes.
yun?
Okay. So yeah, that happened, no, when there are really some students who, example, no, not even just smoking or even in the self-harm, no, and then they say, miss, please don't tell my parents because they might get scared, um they might get angry and all those. But what I usually do is that, because again they are minors, we have to tell their parents. But what I do is that, ma'am, I just want to share that your child mentioned about this, but please don't let him or her know that you got it from me, because I do not want that our trust, that his or her trust in me will be will be broken, no? And if that connection that I have with your child is broken, then there's no other way that you will know what is going on now with him or her, because this is our only channel to get to know about your child. And if you tell him or her that I'm the one who told you, then we will not know now what will happen, because he or she will not share anymore. So we will not have any more ways of connection. So usually when I tell the parents about that, they're very understanding. Oh, okay, yeah, miss, I understand that. So because they know that if they tell me, if they tell their children it comes from me, that the child will not share anymore, and the more they lose the connection with their children. So usually that's how I let them understand about the situation. And usually and it actually worked somehow, no, because that the parents were more attentive to their children about it.
Okay, thank you. Mahirap yun. Very, very, very challenging how to, it takes
Yeah.
wisdom and experience. Okay, thank you. Here's a question. Is it okay to offer something like coffee when you do PFA?
Um, yeah, if it's something that they need. So example, no, when I asked the student, have you eaten? And then she said, no, do you want to eat? No, yes. So we actually ate. So it's okay, because you have to respond to their urgent needs first. So if it's water, it's okay. If it's coffee, yeah, probably. But I don't know if it's coffee that they would really want, no, when they're distressed. But if it's something that they want, yeah, probably.
Mm,
So if it's an urgent need.
yes, thank you. And okay, other questions like what to do when a person gets violent? Violent na siya. So what can I like the questions. I mean, they're so honest, they're so authentic,
Yeah.
and these are my questions also. Okay, paano yon if they are violent na?
So if you're talking about violent to others, then again, I think the same thing would apply. Now, try to contain them lang in an area. So, but make
Okay,
sure that someone is there.
okay,
So that it's two-way man good, no, to protect them and to protect other people. So
okay,
contain them lang in a secure location.
okay. Sige. Thank you. Well, I know we have lots of questions to Miss Jazz, but this is very interesting, and it will keep on going. But I have a question, not to Miss Jazz, but the question to Miss Jessica Berden. If you say, yung nasa chat po, M MHFR's free emotional support, is this a link for us, for people to know more about this? Parang ganito po ba yun? Or you click on it, and is it a part of the offering of linking? Yes, according to Jessica. Wow. So
Thank you
we
so
are creating a ripple
much.
of people who can give emotional support. So thank you, Miss Jazz. Thank you very much for sharing very practical tips on how to do psychological first aid. I now know the difference between if you're the counselor and you're with your family members. They thought, no, na, we invested so much in you and you cannot help us, but that's part of the ethics, and it will
Yeah.
really promote less subjectivity. So ladies and gentlemen, can we please give our love to our speaker for today, Miss Jazz Sato, okay, Miss Jazz Satorinas, and of course, our TLRC coordinator, Professor Geraldine Gumalar, with the team. Okay, of course, with the team, see Andrew and see Noel. Thank you very much for coming up with this, and it's for free. Thank you, para sa bayan. Okay, now you
Thank
shall be
you.
receiving your certificates for this. Okay, and also how to claim your certificates. So, well, so many thank yous and love on the chat box. I mean, I love this. I love this series. No, I'm full of love, full of affection, and also, the LRC will be very happy to have your evaluation and as your prize for this evaluation. So here, our evaluation process of e-certificates are automated. Please make sure that okay. So please make sure that you type the correct spelling of your name, since it will be reflected in your e-certificates. Also, please be mindful of typing your email address, because it is where you will receive your certificates. We suggest you keep a copy of your response in the evaluation for you to verify if you made mistakes. Normally, it takes 3 minutes after submitting. You shall receive your certificate. Should you not be able to receive it by 5 p.m. today, just send a reply message with your concern to the confirmation email that we sent to you. And this is the email address, msgalorio@up.edu.ph. We will manually send the certificate on the next working day. Maraming salamat po. Maraming salamat, Jazz, for telling us that everybody can be PFA. I can be PFA. We can help this world a better place that people can understand more. On behalf of PLRC, UP Cebu, and of course with our coordinator, Professor Jera Gumalal, maraming salamat po. Nandito na po yung evaluation link by Michael Andrew. And back to you, Jera.
Okay, maraming salamat po. Thank you so much for being with us here in our little offering from the University of the Philippines, Cebu. We have Miss Jaz Saturina. She's been with us since July. Thank you, Miss Jaz. This particular webinar series is for the Psychosocial Development program of the University of the Philippines, Cebu, in cooperation with the University of the Philippines, Cebu Office of Student Affairs. And I know, Miss Jaz, daghan kayo itong question. There's so many questions that you have to answer today. But today was a full-packed room. And we have also a lot of viewers coming from the YouTube live. Daghan kaayo nagahuwat. There are so many people who are waiting for this particular rerun of the webinar. Actually, Sir Al, we had a second run. We already had the run way back in July and June. But because of public demand, we asked Miss Jaz, we invited Miss Jaz again to talk for us. And makita mo na to, no? We can already see it that this particular webinar
the nature
today
of the topic, but Miss Jaz has a way of explaining complicated matters into a very layperson's term. So yun yung one thing I like. So once again, it's time for photo op. Let's open our camera and give our best smile and support to Jaz. Okay, so this is our time to see. Finally, I can see real people now. Okay. Hi to Miss Patricia Claire Dagle and Mark Mercado and Danielle.
I think I see some familiar faces. Hi, Justin Arbios.
Okay, let's smile. Okay, so Miss Jer and Sir Michael, start.
Michael, are you the one who's going to take the time?
Yes, so I'll be taking the photo for everyone.
Okay,
so just keep smiling kasi marami tayong slides.
Okay, so
12 all in all.
Vincent, John Vincent Pancho, Michelle Alima, Joey De Leon, yung hapon, John Michael Monteflora, Raymond Malibiran. So I'm just reading all the people I'm seeing. And Mary Jane Hakusalem. Hakusalem. Very rich family in Cebu. Mary Jane Hakusalem. Okay. Maria Angelica Balungay, Eleanor Dapig. Salamat. Okay. Smile.
Smile. Just keep on smiling.
Okay.
We are seeing now our beautiful and handsome friends here.
Camille Cabosas. Good afternoon, Rebecca. Joshua Lydia, Christian Daniel Rivera, good afternoon. Melody Santos, magandang hapon po. James Abao, Rene, Romel Bautista, good afternoon. Sir Al, musta diha, Daniel? Hi, Daniel, kumusta? Wala na COVID diri. Okay, so, buutan ang taga Cebu, we stay at home. Okay, just like anybody else.
Okay, before anything else, also, Sir Al, I would like to remind that if you wanted to have a review for this particular discussion that we have this afternoon, the YT or the YouTube live that we have is still intact there in our UP Cebu TLRC YouTube channel. So if you wanted to check out the review or the rerun of this particular webinar, you can actually see them there on the go. So maybe you'll just have to wait 30 minutes or so to be able to review it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Have a safe day. And goodbye. Salamat, Miss Jaz.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, Miss Jaz.
Thank you.
Okay, Jera. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you soon.
Hi, Daisy Vaughn. Hello. John Manuel with Sablay and a marine something. Wow.
Si Grace, nandito. Hi.
Oh, so yan si Grace.
Thank you so much. Okay na. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
No,
Salamat.
diba? Look at Grace. Ano na yan si Grace? Getting Richer by MSU IIT. Okay, sige, bye-bye na. I'll shut up na. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Sir Al. See you later.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Miss Jazz. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Michael, thank you so much. Noel. So Noel was the one handling the YouTube live that we have currently right now.
Miss Noel, pwede mo na pong ano. Thank
Ako
you.
na sila gipasod.
Okay, sige, thank you.
Alright, sige.
Sige. Kindly
Thanks,
give the link,
Miss.
Mike. Thank you, Noel. Kindly give the
Yeah.
link. Okay. For those who are to evaluate, the evaluation link is found in the chat box. Thank you so much. And thank you for attending. For those who came from the YouTube live that we had, thank you so much for attending. And there's the we know that the only way to get the registered evaluation link would have to come over here in the Zoom. So I do hope it's not a big problem for you all. Thank you so much. The evaluation link can be found in the chat box. Thank you po. Thank you. Goodbye. Stay safe po kayo dyan sa NCR. Salamat po sa lahat. Salamat. Okay, Michael? I will be signing off. Michael, I will be leaving to you the decision to close the webinar. Okay lang? Saan
Yes,
ka
miss.
ngayon? Asa ka karon?
Dito pa rin, sa school.
Okay. Ulan kay kanina. Buntag, nahadlo ko na up until now mag-ulan gihapon because it will, gonna affect the network connection as well as the audio.
Oo nga, ang lakas ng ano. Pero okay lang. Ngayon okay na siya. Okay na ang panahon.
Okay, the evaluation link. Let's just continue to send in the evaluation link for those who came in late.
Okay, so.
Si Sir Ao, he said that he will host or MC today because he wanted to learn how we do it. So I gave him the go signal
Okay.
around late night yesterday. So he really wanted to do it for us.
Kaya pala, I was so surprised saying, wala si Sir Ao ang nag-ano. So I check again the link sa pag-send ko sa mga calendar invites. Ano pala? Akala ko
He will
I
also be the
mistake.
one doing the MCing in the teacher series that we have with Miss Hazel Caparo this coming Friday.
Okay.
She wanted to practice, she said. Thank you po. Thank you po. God bless po. Thank you. Yes.
Sana mag-undi ng cam si Miss Noel.
Asa dekada si Noel.
Ay, napakadire.
Napaka din ha.
Para ko i-talk sa akong cousin, kajut.
Okay.
Yes.
Napay sa YouTube, Noel? Or ako nang i-off ang atong YouTube?
Off na? I think pwede na ma-off.
Wala naman ni-reply, so pero napay nag-view 33 watching paghapon. Pero niingon ako nila nga pa sudlon diri.
Okay, sige. Ako nang
Sige, okay na. I-off
nagigit
na live.